Radio Network, and a new page that I've been working on that I talked a lot about yesterday that has to do really with the overall goal of what this is all about, I would say. And it's NPLFA, and that's just Nonpartisan Liberty for All, just putting the initials there to fit it because it is a pretty long name. Presents the non-compliance movement backed by self-defense. And I went into a whole thing yesterday about non-compliance, and I've talked a lot about non-compliance in general and how that's really, for me, the only way that I believe there's any chance of achieving true freedom and liberty. And even with that, I'm not too optimistic about it either way. But if there's any way to actually achieve it, I would say that would be the way to do it, and to be able to defend yourself in the process, not to initiate force against people. I'm not somebody who keeps bringing up and that kind of annoys me in a way. They call it the NAP, what the fuck does it stand for? The non-aggression principle, and how people, it's essentially based on, or the libertarianism is based on it, and, not aggressing against other people. And I think that definitely that's the whole point, is to things that, as long as you don't hurt somebody else, that you have the right to do whatever you want, as long as you don't directly interfere with their freedom or their property or them personally. But a lot of people are more into it in all aspects of their life, which is fine, but I don't really think about it that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with defending yourself, or, in general, I try to stay away from violence and would walk away from some stupid fight or something like that. But I think there's some people that go too far when it comes to the quote unquote NAP, which they call it, and they talk about it all the fucking time. And it's just like, shut the fuck up already. I mean, maybe it seems like the people that do are, I guess, newer libertarians, and they are learning these phrases and words that go along with libertarianism or something. Like, I had never heard of it till recently, because I wasn't a person that knew all of that shit either. And nor do I guess, really use it much, because I was somebody who, as I talked about, I believe yesterday, it was either yesterday or the day before, or a combination of both. I didn't get into my beliefs from picking up a book, although I did read books about the Black Panthers and Malcolm X, but I didn't get into my beliefs by reading philosophers or anything like that. It was just how I felt about freedom and being able to do what you want and standing up for yourself and stuff like that. So I don't go around talking about the NAP all the time, or wear NAP shirts or any of that fucking shit. So, And not that, I'm sounding like that I look down or have something against people that do. I don't. I guess I'm just kind of fucking annoyed at the moment. But I don't And I think that's something I have to work on along with other things, of course. But I listen to some of these radio hosts, man. Like Mark Levin is on when I'm driving home from work. So I want to check out what I can as far as, this is a guy who I think he said that he got 4 million just downloads of his show, never mind all his listeners. He's huge. He's got to make in the millions for what he does. And I just don't get it. But I listen to him to see what he does and how he does it and what the guy talks about the same shit every fucking day. Now or for a period of time. So like he's been talking about Syria and the immigration for who knows how long now. And when Ken comes on, that's something I want to talk to him about as well and get his thoughts. But he'll talk about the same thing over and over again, essentially. He'll have callers now and then who, of course, call and kiss his ass. He's, to me, a hypocrite. He's somebody who talks about freedom and liberty, but is against drugs being legal. So I don't know how you can say, yes, I'm for freedom and liberty, but let's lock up all these people for drugs. He's for building up the army as big as possible. So, let's, cut all the spending. Oh, except when it comes to the military, let's have all this government. It's funny how these fucking conservatives talk about less government and less spending, and unless it's about their stuff. Then when it comes to the military, or the police, or, he defends the police, the military. It's really just when it comes to, I don't know, I don't know where he wants less government. I guess just social programs. But, the military is almost a social program in itself. If you look at all the benefits that they get now, of course, they're going into war zones and things like that, but needless ones where they're just the puppets of politicians. But anyway, so I listen to him, and even in his delivery, it's terrible. So I'm like, how does this guy, and I'm open to a few things. Like I'm open to changing my format up a little, or open to mixing it up during the show, or I am not open to changing my views or the purpose of the show, because that's what I'm doing the show for in the first place. So if I just wanted to do radio, then I'd probably be doing something else. I'm not doing radio just to do radio. I'm doing radio because I have things that I want to say. I have a passion for freedom and liberty and things that I want to communicate to people and ideas that I want to get out there. Now, how I get them out there is, doesn't really matter. Where I'm always open to suggestions on how I do my show. So if I have, every Wednesday I have a segment, a half-hour segment about whatever, and I'm just throwing that out there as an example. I think I mix it up a lot for the most part, and I've tried different things and whatnot, and I realized that entertainment is an important part, and of course, not having a co-host. I mean, tonight Ken's going to be on in about 5 minutes, so that makes for a much more entertaining show, especially with Ken, who's great on the show, has great information, and a great delivery. And I still think he sounds like Seth Rogen. But anyway, but he has a great delivery, and he's, does a great job on the show and has great information. And, it's, I wouldn't ask Ken to really change anything in as far as, what he brings to the show. But when it's just me, of course, I'm sure people get bored after a while. But then you take somebody like Mark Levin. I mean, it's just him. He does take phone calls, but the phone calls are just people that call pretty much to praise him. Occasionally, he'll get a caller that will disagree, and he'll just get mad and hang up on them. And he's one of those guys who he's angry. He makes dumb fucking jokes. Like, none of his jokes are ever funny. He calls his producer Mr. Producer. So he'll be sitting there, well, Mr. Producer, so I'm talking about they're going to bring 100,000. I don't know that's how many, but I'm just using that as an example. 100,000 Syrian refugees. And the President, Obama, doesn't even care about the Constitution. Like, I mean, that's kind of what, he goes up and down like that. And is that entertaining? Because sometimes I want to punch my fucking radio. And if if I had to listen any longer, I'd turn it off. He kind of reminds me of the person that I call the anarcho-conservative. I think is almost like a Mark Levin wannabe. I don't know. He does his show by himself. He takes a lot of calls. He never seems to have a co-host. I just don't have one because right now a couple of my co-hosts left. But I definitely would if and I'm currently looking for one. But he kind of does remind me of that person, and some people know who I'm talking about, I'm sure, and some people don't, the anarcho-conservative. But this guy makes millions of fucking dollars, and I'm looking at it as I at some point want to be at that level. I want to be at a level of a Mark Levin professionally, meaning not that I sit and yell about the Constitution and do his fucking type of show, just that I got that many people listening and I'm getting my ideas out to that many people, although I don't think I'd ever be on regular radio, so that's a problem. But say even through the internet, I'm getting half the amount of people, I'm sure would be enough, would be fine. So getting half the amount of people. But how does this fucking guy, and I know he loves Reagan. I'm sure he would fucking, I was going to say, he'd blow him, but he'd probably still blow him now. I don't know if Reagan got cremated, but if he didn't get cremated, I mean, he worked on his staff. He talks about Reagan like, Reagan was God and compares all these people and how great Reagan was. Reagan was one of the worst presidents ever, and I'll tell you why, and I have before, is because Reagan is the one who amped up the drug war. And if it wasn't for fucking Reagan, a lot of people would not have had these experiences that they've had where they're in jail for life over drugs, they're dead because they've had a no-knock raid at the wrong house and they made a wrong move, or the police and their ability because of that to just go around and give them a reason to search people. I mean, there are so many things that the drug war has done and so many damages it has caused. So this fucking shit about Reagan, yeah, you can take some quotes from Reagan and shit that he said, and you can play it, and it sounds really good as a soundbite because it sounds like, oh, he's an outsider. He doesn't care about government. He's not a big government guy. The same guy